What's going on, guys? Gamer Dude back once again, bringing you some more informative gaming news. But before we begin, y'all know the routine, or at least I hope you do by now. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. Now then, in case you haven't been living under a rock, rumours surrounding a God of War Ragnarok DLC have been plaguing the internet and forums everywhere for the last couple of weeks. And now it seems as though it might no longer be a rumour. In this video, we're going to be diving into everything I've found regarding this rumour, whether there's some truth to it or whether you should just take it with a pinch of salt. Now then, getting straight into things. Allegedly, this supposed DLC for God of War Ragnarok is around 60% complete. So we could probably, if it is real, expect it sometime at the end of the year or the start of next year. Now, whether or not it's going to be a Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales situation and they release it as a separate game, or they just release a downloadable DLC pack for God of War Ragnarok, we don't exactly know yet, because they are still remaining rather tight-lipped on it. But yeah, an expansion to the extraordinarily popular PlayStation first-party exclusive God of War Ragnarok is allegedly very deep in its development, according to the notorious leaker known as The Snitch. Well, with a leaker name like that, you know it's got to have some truth to it, right? But yeah, it should be noted that while there was a period where the infamous internet tipster was flawless in his accountabilities, the Twitter account has since changed hands. Therefore, the reliability of the source is more debatable than it was before. Recently, the social media snoop revealed seemingly accurate details about a teased title called Rise of the Ronin. So, kind of does appear to be familiar with Sony's internal affairs. Ever since being the God of War Ragnarok campaign, everybody's been expecting some kind of standalone expansion or DLC to the title, or just news that a third game is indeed in development. Because Kratos isn't dead. He's not dead yet. And then Atreus is off on his own journey, so there's more to be told. All Santa Monica Studios said was that it was the end of the Norse saga. Meaning there's plenty more. There's plenty more gods out there to be slain. You know, there's the Egyptian gods. If they want to dive into other types of mythologies, you know, there's the Mayan gods. If they want to go into that, there's all kinds of different historical godhoods that could be tapped into with this new direction God of War is going. Whether they choose to bring Kratos back as a side character, a main character, or just choose to continue it as Atreus and have Kratos wandering in the background, which does seem more likely. I'm not saying Kratos won't get another game in the future, because his story is definitely far from over, but it seems like the way Ragnarok ended, Santa Monica is going to dive into the future of Atreus more than Kratos. Now then, the whole reason people have been expecting a standalone DLC or expansion, without delving too deeply into spoilers for the game if you haven't played it already, the conclusion to the campaign does seem to set up some kind of standalone Atreus adventure, as I was saying. And it would also be consistent with Sony's current development philosophy to make a large-scale spin-off based game on the content and mechanics of its main game. Again, as I said earlier, take Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, and we've also seen it in Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores more recently. Now, the Snitch says that development is around 60% complete for the title, and that a release is planned for early next year. Which kind of does make sense, you know, early next year or at the very end of this year, you know, who knows? Possibly an announcement at the end of this year. I'm gonna, you should take that with a pinch of salt, but I'm gonna say an announcement probably at the end of this year. Now, I am a little bit meh on the source of the material because I really don't like looking into leaks and rumors and stuff. Mostly I just prefer to bring you factual news. News of stuff that's actually coming. This is one of those take it with a grain of salt moments because it's not officially been announced yet. But I do seem to think in this occasion, the information does seem quite logical. Again, considering PlayStation's take on the big spin-off DLC games that they've been doing, tie-ins to their main games that are just a little bit shorter than the main game was. So we can expect this rumor to probably turn out to be true. Now, are you actually, as a fan of the series, itching for more God of War? And which direction would you like to see a potential expansion take? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, that's not the only thing I heard on this. I found another article that mentions another one about the sequel featuring Atreus' potential return. Now, Atreus returning in a God of War Ragnarok sequel after parting ways with Kratos. I'm thinking, and the person in this article was thinking as well, that it should explore Egypt. Because the Egyptian gods, not to be confused with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Egyptian gods, just the normal Egyptian gods, are something that you don't want to trifle with. They are extremely powerful in any kind of mythology that you see them in. And, they are up there on the level of godhood that was there on the Olympian gods in the original God of War series. And if you played that game, those games on the hardest difficulties, they were a bastard to take down. And I'm sure if you played the whole game series, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Atreus coming back would definitely make more sense than another Kratos-inspired journey. Because at the end of Ragnarok, gamers were left with, a heart full of joy and an eye full of tears. Joy because Kratos was still alive, opening up more sequels for him. And tears because, Kratos was finally left worshipped as a god. And, he finally let go of his past mistakes of accidentally killing his family from the original game, to coming full circle with Atreus being an actual father to him, and Atreus accepting him as a father, and Kratos trusting him enough to go off on his own journey. Now, Kratos and Atreus' journey definitely was an incredible one from the beginning. And, the game sort of did dive into what we could expect from a standalone Atreus game, letting us play as Atreus in certain sections of Ragnarok. And I'm thinking a standalone Atreus game, it would be very similar in gameplay and mechanics. There'd just be a bunch more skills as Atreus develops his magical abilities. But even after so much, people are still not satisfied and want to see more of the father-son duo, myself included. I do really want to see Kratos and Atreus team back up and have a game again like Ragnarok where we play as them both. Or let's just be honest. I just don't want to see Kratos disappear forever. Kratos is an iconic character. God of War was one of the first games I played on the PS2, and I absolutely loved it. It's up there with Time Splitters in one of my top 10 games on the PS2. I've thoroughly loved the original God of War games. But yeah, in the future, by the look of it, God of War lovers could definitely have their wishes fulfilled in this regard. There is definitely no guarantee, but the developers at Santa Monica Studios have hinted about the return of Kratos as well. Now, you're probably asking me, is there actually a new game in production? Well, with lots of grueling fight scenes and an incredible plot with definitely unforgettable characters, Ragnarok has left fans in a state of buzzing anticipation. Of course, as you all know if you played the game, Odin in Ragnarok was the lead protagonist, yet Kratos and Atreus, along with several other characters, managed to defeat him. So it makes you think, well, if we're going to go back to singleized characters in singleized games, how is it going to compare? You know, how is it going to stand up? Is it going to be anything like the original games, or is it just going to be that much harder? But yeah, as I said earlier, the ending for Ragnarok finally shows Kratos getting accepted and worshipped as a god, something he never thought possible. On the other hand, Atreus is seen to be more interested in exploring the rest of the world. Due to this, gaming enthusiasts think that there might be another sequel incoming, potentially a trio or duo of games just featuring Atreus' journeys, and if they do a threequel, the final one will have him, come back home to Kratos, and maybe Atreus will actually have to kill Kratos. Maybe Atreus goes to Greece, and there's stories about Kratos in Greece, because at the end of the third game, and all the gods were destroyed, it left the people a chance to rebuild Greece, and maybe they've got some kind of mythology around Kratos, that he's the sinner, he's the devil, blah blah blah. And Atreus has heard all that, and he is thinking, wow, crap, I've got to kill him, I've got to kill my own father. And that's going to be the whole lead up in the third game. You play as both Kratos and Atreus, but this time Kratos is running from Atreus, and the final big boss battle in that game is Kratos versus Atreus, and Atreus kills Kratos. Come on. I mean, it just seems like that kind of darkish game where that would be entirely possible. Come on, you've got to agree with me on that, folks. But it must be more prominent when Santa Monica Studios actually posted a job listing for openings on a senior combat designer, a senior manager, manager for game design, etc. Moreover, it was clearly mentioned in the job description, must have knowledge of God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok. When the dotted lines are joined, people can see the pictures more clearly. This could be potential for another God of War game or a DLC. But it's iconic, and you've got to think, where will Kratos and Atreus go next? For the moment, there is absolutely no way of telling where the father and son duo will go. In fact, there is no official confirmation on the DLC I mentioned earlier or a sequel in the future. But, as I said as well, the fans are speculating it could take place in Egypt or even back in Kratos' homeland of Greece, because naturally Atreus has got to be curious about his father's heritage. But yeah, I think that's about all I picked up regarding this. The rest of it is just talking about God of War Ragnarok. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think that a DLC for God of War Ragnarok is incoming? Or do you think it's just going to be similar to Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales? It's going to tie into the main game, but it's going to be a shorter, separate game. Because again, that does seem to be the trend that Sony is going with at the moment. So yeah, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. So yeah, that's it for this video. So I want to thank you all once again for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Stay tuned to the channel, because there's definitely more content incoming from yours truly. We've got plenty of live streams to do, and not to mention Spider-Man 2 releases in 2 months' time. So yeah, and I also got the collector's edition, so I'll be doing an unboxing video for that as well. So yeah, before we go, you all know the routine, or at least I hope you do by now. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. And that being said then, this has been Gamer Dude. Happy gaming,
and I will catch you all in the next one, guys.